All right, everyone. We have Matt Herb on here today from Fidelity National Title, who I did recently work with, and we had a nice smooth close. And I wanted him to bring him on to talk about Fidelity and what they can do for you, the investor. Welcome aboard, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to work with Fidelity.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I guess first off, I actually grew up in the Lorain County area. I grew up out in Wellington. Grew up on a farm. Started working various jobs actually when I was in I guess middle school. I was it's funny, I tell a quick story about every evening I would go to McDonald's and buy 5 cheeseburgers and sell them the next day for $2 each at lunch. $2 each at lunch. So every day I was profiting $5 and putting it in my little jar. And I think that that was really my first experience with business, I guess. And then, living out in the country, worked various sales or landscaping jobs until finally when I decided to go to college. I wanted to get in engineering, so I went down to Ohio State. um in After 3 years of being in Ohio State, I quickly realized that I wasn't an engineer, and that was because I was making way too many friends. Not that engineers don't make friends, but they really focus on learning, and then that's all they do. Where I was more concerned with having the teacher assistant over my house on the weekend, and have a good time, and meet a bunch of people. So that's what kind of fast forward me into getting into yeah, long story short with that, really with my background and doing some early things on early on, I had this mindset that I wanted to go be an engineer and make all this money. And then after getting down, to school to Ohio State and meeting a bunch of people, I quickly realized that I was a little bit more of a people's person. And, that's what kind of got me more into business, sales, and, working in more in that type of environment.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, we recently had a talk where you brought me out to, coffee and had just talked about what you guys can do for me. And really this is where it all started. Let's talk about your fee structure and how you're able to keep your rates so low.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of what me and Paul talked about is, how does Fidelity bring value to our investors? And, besides the communication level that, I would work with direct with you, Paul, we are a main underwriter in the United States. There's really five main underwriters that actually write the title policy and insure the properties. So, simply put, it's kind of what a lot of investors say about, even the learning aspect of real estate. Go find the investors that are actually doing deals to learn from. And that's kind of what I, take to the title side of the field where, we want to be 100% sure that everything we're doing is correct. So, that's why utilizing an underwriter, that they're the ones that are working on the deals. They're the attorneys in the background that see the deals, that know the legal side, and they're not just 99% sure. They're 100% sure because they work these deals daily. They're the ones that are underwriting them. So, coming to Fidelity, you're coming to the head of the snake that has these very, um, let's just say, experienced attorneys that are going to be able to look at your deal, and then we actually underwrite the policy, so we don't have to charge a bunch of junk fees to make our money, because we're here to write a title policy and to insure the property.
Gotcha. Yeah, and what I was impressed with too is, I mean, like you said, you have attorneys not in-house, but people that you're working with closely that are giving you great rates. And I was pretty impressed with the turnaround and the rates I was getting for, writing up a simple mortgage deed even.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We, a lot of our deed work, I specifically, it's part of my job on the sales business development side, is to, go out in the community and meet these different attorneys that are, executing the deeds and quit claim deeds, survivorship deeds, things like that. So, I have the ability to have a full-time job of meeting these different attorneys, and, it kind of works in relation with you, different investors, where, I can kind of speed the process up to meet some of these people, and then both, kind of give you some reassurance that these people have been around, they're doing deeds all the time, and they're a good source to use for getting a deed done. So
Yeah. So let's segue right into that. There's so many different things that you guys are doing that I see that other title companies don't do. Like I've never been called from, a customer relations or a sales rep to have, ask me to go out to coffee or something just to learn about what I'm doing. It shows the extra mile of that you're trying to learn the people that you're working with. So dig into some of those things that you're doing to really try to learn the investors you're working with.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it goes back to what I was, saying at the beginning with, how I grew up, in grade school trying to sell cheeseburgers for double price, and I guess the reason I took a sales job within Fidelity was because I knew it was a demand product that people have to get a title policy. I guess they don't have to, but I would guess most people agree that you want to protect the deed that you're buying, right? Long term. So, the way that I looked at it was like, hey, I get paid to go around and network with people in real estate. And I guess when I, was just signing up for the interviews at first, I was like, wait a minute. I want to be in real estate. I want to make money. I want to own things. So, part of my vision of reaching out to people like you is I don't only want to be your title rep. I want to understand your complete business, not only from I'll call it a selfish personal standpoint of me wanting to learn information. Let's just call it free information, but really it's this give and take relationship where I want title work, but I also want to I'll just use a very big idea. I want to own an apartment complex in the future with you. you know Getting these people together and connecting. My full-time job is to meet these people, and if I got a private money guy here, a guy with land over here, guys with some ideas over here, all you got to do is kind of put these people in the same room, have some conversations, and then 3 years later you're like, hey, how do I own this apartment building with Paul? And those are that's my long-term vision of not just doing title work, but getting involved with the exit strategy of these investors, because I want to help them make money, because the more money we all make sets us up for different opportunities on the development side in the future.
Right, definitely. So many, not just titles, so many service-based relations that you need in real estate or any business really. People are providing the service and they're not actually in the trenches doing the job or doing that service or doing like, real estate or anything. They're not out there acting in the field that they're working in. So it's very important to me when I'm working with people, whether it's title, mortgage providers, realtors, that these type of people are actually investing in real estate too, or have plans to invest in real estate and are trying to grow in this field outside of just this being like a W-2 job for them. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I would be lying if I told you that I was focused on residential real estate, which I'm not. And part of the
yeah.
reason why that is because me personally, I feel that me on the title side, every residential opportunity that comes to me, I'm taking that back out to my network for leads and to help them. And part of my focus is I believe in residential investing, commercial investing, and then you go on to buying and flipping businesses. And I'm almost trying to kind of you know really work in this industry so I can almost save up and pass that residential and go into the commercial, where like I said, getting some of these like little slivers of these bigger development projects. And one of the things me and my buddies have kind of segued into doing is stay out of that residential world and let all my customers dive into all those good deals, because my customers could ask me, hey Matt, how are you going to give me leads if you take every good deal? And that's something that I encourage a lot of your realtors in this area to think about too, is, they're a realtor, but they're doing their own deals. So it's like, if I'm an investor, how do I know that you're going to give me the good deals if you're doing them? So that's part of my mindset of, helping people grow in the residential. So, part of what me and my buddies are working on is growing out a franchise on the commercial side and just using all these relationships within real estate to help people build.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. You started a franchise and it's dealing with a service-based industry in real estate. So,
Yes, you're absolutely right. And to kind of go back to that, skipping the residential, I'm just going to call it skipping for now, but I'm very active in the field, right? But, you know, what we're doing is, part of what I want to do is meet apartment owners, property managers, business owners to help just marinate this bigger real estate network. So, my buddies have started a parking lot maintenance and line striping franchise. It's a franchise out of Canada. But long story short, I want to help these investors realize that when you buy an apartment complex, it's not all collecting rent. Part of what people don't realize is your parking lot could be your second to third biggest spend of besides the roof of
Yeah.
the building itself. I mean, you could, neglect your parking lot, and 8 years down the road, the city's telling you got to repave it. And that's, 80 to $100,000 job. So, it goes back to what you were asking me about, Paul. That's why I really want to understand, investors' businesses. What's their exit strategy? How do you plan on making money on this? Because what I really want to do is help people understand that there's expenses to real estate and there's negative stuff to real estate to help them try to avoid these things. And I like you just said, there's I'll be honest, parking lot maintenance is not a sexy item, but
I know.
once you dive into it and start talking about it, investors, people start to understand that, wow, this is a big cost or a big problem that I don't want to talk about. So we better talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it sucks because that's one of those things that are you really going to get much more rent for your units because you paved the parking lot? Probably not, but I mean, it will appeal people towards your units. One, you're keeping your properties in good condition so you don't have that huge expense and you're taking care of your parking lot to make it last longer. And
Right.
two, people want to live in an area what looks nice. So maybe you're not getting more rent, but maybe you're having longer term tenants. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's a huge thing.
Yeah, and it's really just, being there, like at the end of the day, I want to do title work. But if I'm talking to an investor and understanding like, hey, instead of spending 10 grand every 2 years, that's a big amount of money. Let's spend 2 grand this year, 2 grand next year, and start saving some money. So just I guess it's just another tool in my tool belt to just make investors realize that at the end of the day, you can trust me to give your title work done because I understand that you're trying to close and there's money to be that you need funds and there's a lot going on than just a simple real estate transaction.
Yeah, you're building a whole network of people that it's not just finishing the title work. It's, hey, I have a guy here, or hey, this lead came in that I have no interest in because it's a duplex, like we talk about. Maybe it's something you might be interested in. So it's not your job to underwrite the deal or make sure the deal is a good deal. It's just, you're giving people leads, you're giving people services, you're just building up that network that is going to help you and everybody that you're working with and just brings more lead flow back to you. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And my goal is to get some of these investors in the room to start thinking about bigger deals. But I guess the one thing that I've learned after 4 years is and I love residential real estate. I really do. And I think it's great. But it's why only limit yourself to thinking you can only buy one house? Why not have these bigger deals and these bigger ideas about things to where the goal is not to just accumulate a couple houses. It's maybe to accumulate a couple dozen, or maybe 100, maybe 200, or maybe even go get that 11 unit, that 50 unit. So I'm trying to help, I guess, both myself and younger folks start to, I guess it's almost corny to say, yes, we can do this stuff, and it's getting some of these people in the room now. So 5 years down the road, some of these things can happen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people miss that. The 5 years down the road, like you just said, it's a relationship business. Like this is a people business. Real estate isn't just buying property. It is mainly a people business. So you have to build those relationships. You can't expect somebody to, meet them and just dump 200, 300, 400 grand into one of your deals that you met yesterday. You have to build that trust, build that relationship. They have to see you doing the work, building out your personal brand, outreach, all that type of thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the biggest thing I've learned is there's so much going on that if you use partnerships and some of these relationships you build, you can do twice, three times, four times as much. Why only think about owning one duplex when you can put your money in multiple different areas and spread out the assets and eliminate some of your risk of only just doing one thing. So I think that that's the big vision of why me and you, Paul, we we're talking and we're seeing a bigger picture of, I can't just do this by myself. It takes more people, right? And not only that, as you meet more people, you want to make sure you trust those people. So everybody kind of working in tandem together.
Right. It's a big referral business. And I know you know, and I know it's so hard to build up your personal brand and that trust with people, and it's so easy to lose it. So having those people in your network that are trustworthy, that aren't burning you and improving not to burn you is so important.
Yeah, I agree, and part of my, you know, I guess reason for wanting to work with a lot of investors is, I have experience working in sales and in corporate beforehand of working in logistics and going in and restructuring these large shipping structures. And the only reason this matters now is, when you get into these real estate transactions, you got a lot of different moving pieces, right? You got your realtor, your loan officer, your title company, your title sales rep, your brokerages, everybody wanting their cuts of the commission, the inspector, the surveyor. I can name people for another 30 seconds probably. But you have all of these people in this deal, and all of these people are making pretty good livings. So it's kind of crazy to think about one transaction happening and you have 11 people that are making a living off of this. So if you think about that transaction, you got a lot of people that are high stress about this deal closing. And sometimes, everyone's talking, chattering, everybody's on different pages. So it kind of takes someone to kind of, hey, let's take a deep breath. Let's get on a conference call. Let's everybody understand what's going on. And sometimes being able to deliver not so friendly news in a way that, it's not necessarily a no, but we're going to have to work through this a little bit to be a yes. And how you deliver that information matters a lot.
Yeah, and the important thing is too, like if a deal's not going to close, you let people know that it's not going to close as soon as possible rather
Right.
than dragging it out.
Yeah,
So,
well, setting expectations, and I'll just, I let people, that's why it's important to work with underwriters because they're going to let you know right off the bat what can and can't be done. And like I said, this is very important. We can all be 99% sure. That's not good enough. We need 100% sure. So that's why I go back to those underwriters all the time because we all know what Google is. All the information in the world is on Google, but it's like, some of these I don't want to be negative about it, but we want to make sure we're putting it in hands of people that are 100% sure because that 1% where you're wrong can eliminate all of the gains that you planned on making in real estate. It can wreck your entire portfolio. So that's why I kind of wanted to reiterate why, like, me, I'm 4 years into this. I'm a relationship guy, I'm a builder, but really where Fidelity stands its ground is, with our expertise and how long we've been around.
yes, definitely. So before we jump off, I like to talk to all my guests and ask them this question. I mean, we're all consuming information. So what is your podcast, Facebook channel? What are you following right now that you're really kind of digging into?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because it's actually I'm going to segue from real estate right now.
Yeah.
I spend the majority of my time, not majority, because I would say the majority of my time is being in real estate, being title sales, and my mindset is to potentially be a developer, in the future. Um, but I'd say the majority of my personal self of what I'm researching on my own is high growth tech stocks. I subscribe to information by a gentleman called Ophir Gottlieb, CML Pro. Um, I look for changing thematics within high growth tech stocks that maybe Wall Street is underappreciating, um, and look to invest in them long term. So not so much trying to swing trade high growth stocks as opposed to saying, hey, this technology is changing the way things are, and Wall Street probably underappreciates it and looking for some of those long-term high growth tech stock opportunities. For instance, I mentioned I was in logistics. One of my biggest holdings is a company out of Israel that is trying to solve the complexities of cross-border shipping. Basically, any company in the world can sell to anybody in the world and get that shipment across the borders. I used to work in logistics and I know how hard it is for customs, paperwork, documentation, tariffs, taxes. This company is literally going to ship it, take care of everything. It sells in euros. You buy in dollar bill or dollar bill dollars in the United States. The company takes care of everything. So you're talking about this platform that it's not about a company that makes business. You're talking about a platform where everybody goes for this stuff. So, like I said, want to just throw one example of like opportunities I look for on the on the stock market side because real estate, stock market, a little bit of both.
Yeah, and you're diversifying a little bit too. You're not putting all your
Yep.
eggs in one basket.
Yep.
Well, Matt, I'm really happy they came on today and looking forward to working with you in the future.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me and I look forward to it. And thanks for allowing me to come on.
Yep.